The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Hello, welcome to Staring into the Abyss, and coming to you from an AirPod headset, it's Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Michael Patrick Hicks.
Hello, thanks for calling into the show, Rich.
And Matt Brandenburg.
You can now call me Sub-Zero. Or no, wait, he says, that's not my name anymore. It's Sub-Zero.
Yeah, Sub-Zero.
And Rich, you missed a total opportunity to say you're calling from Outworld.
I did. Or I could have said another realm.
Or
Do you want to redo this? Should we take it from the top again?
No, this is perfect as
let's keep it going.
In Mortal Kombat, you get no redos.
That's true. Yeah, they did not do more than one take for any of these scenes.
Well, I'll save that comment for a little bit because they kind of technically do all get a redo, but we'll get there in a sec.
We'll get there in a second. Today we'll be discussing the video game adaptation of Mortal Kombat, not the 1995 version, but the new one that's on HBO Max as of now. And it's better than Annihilation.
Which I never saw, so.
Yeah, I never saw that either.
That's a bad one. That's really bad. But before we get to Mortal Kombat, we like to give a recommendation of stuff that we've been reading, watching, and consuming this last week. So I decided to pull the trigger and watch Jacob's Wife before it hit Shudder.
Nice.
The new Barbara Crampton movie with Larry Fessenden.
Yes.
This movie is one of the better vampire movies I've seen in recent years.
That's what I've heard.
It is Barbara Crampton. It's so nice to see her in movies again.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just reading her article because she always writes an article in Fangoria, and I was just reading it. She talks about that, and it was really cool.
Yeah, this is like she plays a kind of like housewife to this minister of a church who's kind of this overbearing presence in her life, and he's kind of, you know, your typical church minister guy. And she meets up with an old flame, and she ends up getting bit by a vampire. And the rest of the movie is her realizing like what she has become, trying to hide it from her husband, and then her husband's reaction to what he finds out what she's become. And it goes on from there. It is a fun ride.
Nice. Yeah, it sounded really neat.
The budget's kind of low, but it's a really fun movie, and I would highly recommend it. It should hit Shudder in the next couple months, but you can rent it for like $4.
That's not bad. It sounds cool. I like the concept, and you can never get enough Barbara Crampton. So,
and Larry Fessenden as well.
This is true.
I still need to listen to those audio dramas that he puts together for Audible.
Yeah,
I've listened to a couple of them. They're really good.
Yeah, there was a space one that Ron Perlman takes part in that was really fun.
Larry's one of my favorite horror directors, too. Like, he's only made, like, 3 or 4 horror movies, but they're all really good. So, I will say Jacob's Wife is definitely worth the watch. And if you're itching for a new vampire movie, this is the one to go to.
I'm not exactly itching, but I'll still see it. I'm not that itchy
you'll
or
see
scratchy.
Just because you're a Barbara Crampton fan.
Yeah.
Get your Barbara Crampton fix.
Yes. This is good.
Mike, what about you?
Well, my recommendation this week is going to Michael McBride's novella Extant, which on the day of its release...
Was this the one that got the 1-star review on the day of release? Because it had no... like.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. That was going to be part of why I'm bringing this out is because... like within minutes of being released, it got a 1-star review from somebody who didn't buy the book, didn't read the book, Their review is, I'm a fan, but the look inside only shows the table of contents. I will pass on this one. 1 star.
Do people, all right, it's 2021. Amazon's been around forever. Do people not know how Amazon works?
No.
You can email them and say, hey, the look inside doesn't give me enough. You don't have to put a review in for that.
Yeah, no, you don't need to try and tank a new release from an established author who is taking an indie route with this novella, and it is a novella. It is less than 100 pages, and it only costs $2.99. But for our 1-star reviewer, they said that's a lot of money to pay for a book that's only 94 pages and doesn't have a look inside feature that shows more than the table of contents.
I mean, to be fair, who knows what's on the inside of this book? It could just be crayon drawings.
That's true. I mean, it could be just 100 pages of pictures of goats fucking, and you're paying $3 for that.
And if I can't look inside, how do I not know?
That's true. I mean, for somebody who is a fan, they should know what they're getting into with Michael McBride and whether or not the $3 is going to be worth it, because ultimately that $2.99 price tag, I think, for a novella is pretty reasonable, in my opinion. I mean, it's cheaper than a new movie rental that's going to give you a couple hours of entertainment. My take. Thankfully, Extant does have the benefit of being an enjoyable read, as are most of Michael McBride's works. I dig the guy. I am also a fan, unlike Reader Lee, and I did purchase this, and I did read it. And it follows. No, go on.
I have a question.
Sure.
I have a question.
Yes.
So you're telling me this is an actual novella?
Yes, it has words.
When you turn past table of contents,
there's a
it's
story.
Not just that meme of Bender saying, I will write my own novella with cocaine and hookers.
No, once you get past that look inside feature and get past the table of contents, there's a map. And then after there are chapters that have words that make a story.
Wow.
It's a pretty remarkable feature for this story.
Technology's come a long way, man.
It really has. And what you get with this story is a nice little subterranean excavation of a recently discovered, previously lost ancient Egyptian tomb that may point toward the disappearance of the army of Cambyses II from 524 BCE. But in addition to finding out what happened to that lost army, the archaeologists also find something that should never have been unburied. And there's
dun, dun, dun.
A whole bunch of nasty, nasty creatures buried in the sands of this buried tomb. And they are hungry, hungry, hungry.
Ooh. That sounds like a fun Monster Munch.
Yeah, it's a really good creature feature, which is much better than the other creature feature I read. Like back to back with this book was Christina Henry's Near the Bone, which is supposedly a creature feature, but doesn't actually have much of a creature feature component to it. So that was disappointing. I would say instead of spending the $13 on Near the Bone, spend $3 on Extant and get a much more enjoyable and much shorter read.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'll make sure to write Amazon and let them know.
Yeah. Be sure to, instead of contact their customer service, just leave it as a fucking review.
I mean, that's usually what I do.
I think that my favorite 1-star reviews are like, book came damaged to 1 star.
Yeah. My favorite are like the 1-star verified purchases. This is not what I ordered.
Again, thanks. That's definitely how you contact Amazon.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to go through like your order history and work with their customer service on returning things and getting it exchanged or refunded. No, definitely keep your damaged item and take it out on the author that has nothing to do with the fucking UPS delivery boy who fucking curb stomped this all the way to hell and back before dropping it on your porch, like drop kicking it through your front window.
all my
just dragging it across the concrete.
All my 5-star reviews are going to be post office delivered on time. 5 stars.
Yeah, this book was tied to a chihuahua cracked up on amphetamines, and it got a damaged corner, 1 star.
Or 5 stars because now I got a new dog.
Right.
One of the
I
best 1-star
accidentally took
reviews.
shit on my book, 1 star.
So there's a really great novella by Philip Ficarsi called Shiloh.
Oh, yeah, that's the Civil War horror story.
The Civil War cosmic horror story. And it has 1-star review. And it's just 1 star, verified purchase, not a quality movie.
Perfect.
I mean, that review's not wrong because it's a book and not a movie.
Oh, my God. That's good. I just love it. Those are all of our reviews, not a book for this podcast. Or it'll be like, computer had to update 1-star review for this podcast.
Like, we'll get into it in a minute. We're going to be talking about Mortal Kombat. This was the worst book I've ever read.
This Mortal Kombat did not cover my feet. 1-star review.
This is a horrible movie. This is a really shitty shoe. Look.
I read the instructions on this shoe, and it was very engaging. 5 stars.
I just looked up Shiloh, and that is the only 1-star review that this book has from 2018. Not a quality movie, it says.
I love it. So awesome. I would put that on my cover.
Yeah. Verified purchase, not a quality movie.
So they bought it.
Yeah. Somebody's a bit confused on what a book is and what a movie is.
I mean, it's very difficult to determine. It just makes me happy.
Although he did 5-star, that reviewer did 5-star socialism is evil. Against Marx's radical dream. But he also 1-starred a t-shirt because it was too small. The t-shirt that he ordered.
It's definitely the t-shirt's fault.
He 1-starred an ear protection device.
Yes, he did. They didn't fit well.
Would not fit properly. Would not seal an ear.
So this guy doesn't know how to buy books or movies.
Doesn't know how Amazon.
Doesn't know how to buy things that are the proper size. He has issues with sizing.
Oh, look. I found another review from him. Are you ready?
Yeah.
This is for a book called Torpedoes Away. And it says, 5 stars, extremely enlightening. And then in the review space, he wrote nothing with a lowercase n.
He actually wrote nothing.
Yeah.
I don't even
nothing.
Several of his reviews are just nothing. There's a digital soil thermometer that he bought that's 5 stars but says nothing.
His socialism is evil review says nothing. Well, it also says releasing the true brutality of socialism, and then below he says nothing.
Oh my God.
He did, however, 5-star a 24-pound bag of bone meal. That, as 5 stars, is too expensive, not enough product.
What? He gave it 5 stars?
One reviewer found that helpful, though, so I think this should be a new feature. We should go through and review the reviewers.
I agree. We should.
We can do more of this in the future. But, Matt, what's your recommendation from last week?
I'm just like, this person sort of knows how Amazon works, but sort of doesn't. He knows how to leave a review, but then sometimes he's like, well, I'm just going to write nothing because that's what I want to write.
5 stars.
Yep.
Nothing.
5 stars.
Nothing.
5 stars, nothing.
I got nothing. 5 stars. I don't know.
I don't know. It was good. I think I like it. The bone meal was very mealy and very bony.
24 pounds is not enough bone meal.
I mean,
I need more bone meal.
It said 24 pounds, and I read 24 pounds, but I expected 28 pounds.
Yeah, not enough. Not enough product.
Not enough.
This
Not enough
Bone
product.
Meal is a horrible movie. I was expecting so much more.
I was just waiting. The songs in Bone Meal were just terrible.
Let me tell you about this Bone Meal movie I bought.
I buried it into the ground and nothing happened.
24 pounds of bone meal. I didn't get a single movie out of it.
I tried to wear it and it was too tight.
Nothing. 5 stars. Nothing.
The post office brought it a day early. 5 stars. The post office put it on my back door. 1 star. This book is stupid.
Bone Meal is great, but I tell you, this book I bought was a horrible movie. 5 stars for the Bone Meal. 1 star for the book, not a movie.
Just ear protection did not protect my ears from getting smacked.
What did protect is while I was watching this book, I couldn't hear anything. This whole movie was just words.
There's nothing. There's no images moving. There's no nothing. No nothing.
The whole movie was just words. It was stupid.
His Bone Meal's a great snack, though.
I sat down to put in this movie called Shiloh by Philip Fracassi and ate my bone meal, and it was just nothing.
I stuck the ground thermometer up my ass, and it worked.
There wasn't even enough bone meal to get me through this book. He sat down with a 24-pound of bone meal. You figure I'd have to read this book to watch with it, and no. Nothing. Next time I'm going to get a 38-pound of bone meal to go with a novella that's not a movie, and I'm going to be, I don't know what. Nothing.
Nothing.
Not enough bone meal is the problem here. 1 star. I ate this whole bag of bone meal. 1 star.
1 star.
Oh, wait. Okay. I'm crying.
1 star for your tears, man. I'm going to drink a whole bottle of them, but 1 star.
I need bone meal to dry it up.
Tear flavored bone meal, 5 stars.
This book didn't work in my VHS player. 1 star.
So, Matt, what did you read this past?
I read the instructions to bone meal. I give it 3 stars. It was sort of engaging, but not fully. But better as a movie. Okay. Wait. Okay.
Okay, let's reset. 3, 1. Okay. So
all right.
Matt, what about your recommendation?
Okay, wait. Okay, here we go. I'm good now. I started reading Mary Sangiovanni's Thrall, which it's already done, but there was, when this came out, a bundle for weird fiction, and that was one of them in there. So I'm assuming a lot of people are probably going to be reading this or close to reading this as well. It was a great bundle, by the way. I'm glad they did that. Anyway, Thrall is great. I'm about a little over a third of the way through, and I'm enjoying it. It reminds me a bit of sort of like a Stephen King story, but a little weirder. You know, it's a person and his friend is in love with him, but he's not in love with her. And they're going to this crazy town called Thrall in Jersey that all this weird stuff has happened in, and he has to find his, I guess, ex-girlfriend, who in the book she was pregnant and she had his child, which he didn't know about. And so he's kind of trying to bring them out of this town, but a lot of crazy stuff is happening in this town. There's like weird monsters and fog, and the buildings all move around. It's really good. I don't know. Is it? Maybe either of you will know. Is this her first book?
No.
Okay.
Her first book is The Hollower.
Okay. I was just wondering because I think this came out in like 2011, 12.
Yeah, this is like I think her 4th or 5th book.
Okay, no other reason. I was just asking, just trying to figure out because I haven't read any of her stuff, and so that's all. I'm just trying to figure out where I'm at in her stuff.
She's really good.
Yes, I really like this a lot. There's some great imagery, and there's some really great. Like I said, I'm only a third way through, but there's a ton of great setup and a ton of just cool, creepy kind of cosmic-y stuff, which I know that's what she does. And it's so far it's been on display in like a subtle way. I mean, like there's monsters and there's all this weird stuff happening, but you know that something bigger is going on too. There's talk of these weird, creepy statues and how they appeared, but maybe they didn't appear and like where they're at. And so like, you know, there's a lot more happening, but it's like a great setup. The writing's really sharp. Her descriptions are great. And yeah, I'm digging it. I'm hoping more people are reading it because of, like I said, that bundle. And I'm excited to see where it goes. So
I need to get back to it. I have the Thunderstorm hardcover of it. And it's what I read, I liked a lot.
Yeah, it's great. Just some of the setup and some of the weird monsters there showing up. And man, she put in a creepy doll scene, sort of. like a small reference, but it was enough where I'm literally every page going, when's it going to show up? When's it going to show up? So that's there. And then I was just thinking too, because I'm at a part where they're in a library, and I couldn't help but think of the Bungalow House. And so.
Well, if I can toss out a recommendation there, it would be her Kathy Ryan series, beginning with the novel Chills.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, for some reason, the publisher has done something very odd with this, in that they don't consider Chills to be the first book of the Kathy Ryan series.
Huh.
I think they currently say it's like there's 3 books, but there's actually 4 because Chills is where she's introduced. Maybe it's because she's not the main character of the book, but she's one of the main characters, but not the lead protagonist. Oh. So maybe that's why they exclude it from the proper series, but start with Chills and then dig into the rest of the Kathy Ryan books because those are really, really good cosmic horrors.
Nice.
And if I could also recommend her Hollower trilogy, those are also like really brutal, really bleak cosmic horror stories they punch you in the gut right away, and they keep that feeling of dread going throughout all of them.
Yeah, I've got to get to those one of these days.
I am sold. I mean, like, so far, I mean, I was excited to see everything in the collection, and this was the one where I was like, oh, I really want to read this because I have been listening to her now for years, and I really like her style, at least from when she's talking. And so I was like, well, I gotta start reading her stuff. And yeah, it instantly hooked me. And it's funny because I know we have to read 2 other books, but I keep like sort of reading those and then jumping back into Thrall because I'm like, I want to see what happens next. So
yeah. Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
So yeah, 5 stars.
Speaking of 5 stars, did you guys see I know Mike didn't. Matt, did you see the finale to Invincible?
No, no.
Oh man, this show has become like my favorite TV show, and the season's over, and I'm so sad. Like this season finale. So like, if you're reading the Invincible comics, the show follows the comics pretty accurately, but it does everything so much better. So I'm just going to spoil it for everybody because we kind of know this twist is coming from the beginning. But like the first episode, we see like Omni-Man kill the Guardians of the Globe.
Yeah, we know he's not a good guy.
Yeah.
So this one opens up with him. Well, first I should rewind. They bring the Immortal back to life from the Guardians of the Globe, who then confronts Omni-Man, and Omni-Man kills the Immortal again in front of Mark. and
Mark is the son. That's
Mark's
Omni-Man's son.
Mark's invincible. And so Mark sees his dad do this, and Omni-Man's just like, I have something to tell you. And then he goes, I've been lying to your life. It's time I tell you the truth. And he starts talking about like Vitrium and his people and how they aren't peacekeepers they're a empire that is dominating planets one by one, and he has been sent to Earth to prepare Earth to join their empire. And he was waiting for Mark to develop his powers so that way he could have someone to help him break down Earth and get it ready for the domination of the Vitrium Empire.
Nice.
And then Mark obviously does not like hearing this. So he gets very angry. He's like, but you love Earth. You love me. You love Mom. And he goes, your mom's more of a pet to me. And Mark flips the fuck out. And the whole episode's just them two fighting.
That's awesome.
And, like, there's one part where it's like they send in jet fighters to distract him. And Omni-Man blows up one of the jets. Mark saves a person. And the person is like, thank you for saving my life. And Omni-Man drops behind him and just crushes his head. You see his brains and blood splatter all over Mark. And he's like, why did you save him? It's so much work. And the whole episode is just him just like breaking Mark one by one. Like he punches Mark so hard he flies into the city of Chicago and destroys everything in his landing. And like once he gathers himself, he just sees all the bodies of the people that he killed from the punch that flew him into the city. It was a lot. Like Invincible usually is a lot, but this episode was a lot.
It was extra a lot.
It was a lot with a side order of a lot. But it was a really great finale, and it sets up everything for season 2. And it's been announced that the show has been renewed for 2 more seasons.
Nice.
So how many comics were there?
The whole series, I think it's 178 issues.
Wow. Okay. And then for this first season, how much did they cover?
They covered the first 5 trade paperbacks.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, out of 25 trade. No, I think it's 25 trades in total. They covered the first 5.
Crazy.
And they're doing everything like they're developing all the characters more. There's more character work that goes in. Like there's parts in the original that like they devote a whole episode to, and the original was like half an issue.
Huh.
And it helps set up these like characters to be more of a threat or more of an ally and develop plot points that'll kind of hit harder for watching the show in action than reading it in comic form. Plus, Invincible was when Kirkman was very new to writing comics, and his dialogue was very bad during some of those early Invincible issues.
Yeah, I was gonna ask that if that was his first or if Walking Dead was his first.
His first was Battle Pope.
Okay, so I was way off.
And then after Battle Pope, he sold Invincible to Image, and then he was working on Invincible and The Walking Dead at the same time.
Gotcha.
So those two kind of came out together.
I see.
And if you watch Invincible, and this is like to our audience, if you watch Invincible and you look at episode 1 and you kind of think like it's a generic superhero show, stick on watching because it becomes something really special. Like the emotional arcs in the show are really fulfilling, and they're able to hit you like really hard in the gut, and I love it.
Yeah, the post-credit scene in that first episode really does a lot of groundwork for the rest of the show.
One thing that's cool too is like
it's also like a 10-minute long post-credit scene, so it's not.
One thing that's cool about the show too is like they save the title card until someone in the episode is about to say Invincible.
Oh,
so like there's some episodes where like the title card doesn't even come in till like 20 minutes into the episode. And then like when someone says Invincible, the title card hits, and each episode the title card is like Invincible's costume, and it gets bloodier and bloodier with like each episode. And by the end, and by the last episode, the whole thing is like it was just a giant blood splatter that covers most of the title card of the episode.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's a wild show. Highly recommended. It's really something special.
I only saw the first 2, but I am eager to get caught up.
And even though I spoiled, because we kind of knew the fight between Omni-Man and Invincible was happening, watching it in action, your jaw's going to drop. Like, some of the most fucked up shit I've ever seen happens in this episode.
Yeah. Those first 2 episodes really impressed me with the amount of gore and the willingness to go there.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, what would happen if Superman decided to kill a normal human being? It's like, oh, yeah, that's accurate. Eyeballs are popping out. There's brains gushing between fingers. There's people being literally torn in half and intestines falling to the floor. It's, all right, this is a good show. I can watch this.
There's like one part in the last episode where Omni-Man's also trying to demonstrate like how, pathetic humans are. And he punches Mark into the subway, holds Mark by the back of his head as a subway train rides towards them, and Mark is helpless as like the subway train's breaking around them and all these people in the train are being sliced into pieces.
My favorite reviews are that this show is too politically correct. So, 1 star.
Not enough bone meal.
Yeah. No, needs more bone meal. Do you guys have any other recommendations? Because I just have a couple for reading, and that's it.
I mean, I started the book we're going to talk next week, which is Navajo Nightmare, and I'm digging it.
Navajo Nightmare
Actually, not
is,
what we're reading
2 weeks.
next week.
Wait, what are we reading next week?
Dark Side of the Room by Tyler Jones.
Fuck. Okay, never mind. I should probably start that one.
Don't worry.
What I do, Matt, is I write these things down. That I have a schedule.
That is a very smart idea. I should try that.
Dark Side of the Room is only like 86 pages.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, then I'll be able to knock that out. Well, anyway, regardless, I started Navajo Nightmare, and I'm really digging that. So I'm excited to talk about that one. It's a good Western. So far, it's very just I don't want to say it's just a typical Western so far. I mean, I know that it's going to get a lot darker. It's already pretty bleak from what I've read, but I know it's going to have a little bit more going on it. And that's not to complain or anything like that. That's just to say, like, it's your gunslinger, good, that was bad, went good, and then something happens to make him go bad again. So
yeah. I like what I've read of that so far. I'll save a lot of it for our discussion, but I'm enjoying what I've read of it too.
So 1 star review to myself. Didn't pay attention to schedule.
Anything else from you, Mike?
No, that's all I've got.
I'll also chime in and just say Dark Side of the Room, which we'll be discussing next week, is phenomenal.
Well, good.
So I'm excited to dive into that with everyone. And I also started Dissident Harmonies by Brian Keene and Bev Vincent.
Nice.
The book is just 2 novellas, one by Brian Keene, one by Bev Vincent. Bev Vincent, his novella is called The Dead of Winter. And his is about 100 pages long. And it deals with this town that has a secret tunnel system below it, and what those tunnels contain once the snow falls and the power goes out. And Brian Keene's story is called The Motel at the End of the World, and I haven't got to that one yet. I've read the introduction as well, which is Bev and Brian kind of detailing the mixtapes they made for each other.
Awesome.
Because the concept of these novellas are they made each other mixtapes, and these are the novellas they wrote while listening to each other's playlists.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's kind of like the 2 stories inspired by the mixtapes they made each other.
That's a great idea.
So I'm enjoying that so far. And I also just started Chasing the Boogeyman by Richard Chizmar, which is it's a fiction novel, but I could understand why people are calling it true crime, because it's a really great blend of like a true crime fictional narrative. That
Nice.
like it's hard to tell if it's really happened or if it's made up. It's inspired by real life, but all of it's made up.
Huh.
But it's really involving and really engrossing, and I'm digging that so far too. But I think now we should dive into Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat!
Mortal Kombat. The movie about a fighting tournament that has no tournament.
God. Oh, man, I was so bummed about that.
I was too. Like that, to me, that's the one main fault of the movie.
Oh, there's a lot of faults to this movie.
One fault, but
That's one of them.
The biggest fault is the plot makes no sense.
Well, was there a plot? I think that's really kind of generous to say that this movie had a plot.
They attempted a plot.
They tried, maybe. Kind of. I don't know what it was.
It's like when we were watching it, we were talking about this. The fact that, like, technically the game has a plot, but it's really funny when you read the story of the game where you're fighting, or it's Sun Tzu, right? He's the main bad guy. Who's the main bad guy?
Sun Tzu.
Sun Tzu is...
no. Well, there's Shao Kahn, and then, the guy in this one's Shang's son, I believe.
Yeah. Well, whoever the main bad guy is in Mortal Kombat, he is trying to get everyone together because he wants to take over Earth and blah, 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 blah. And this is the game. But in the game, you can literally fight him the first round and kill him. And then it's like, well, what's the point of the game? At that point, you won. So that's when we were watching the movie, it was kind of like, well, you can't take much plot from the game because the game, they tried, but at the same time, the game can be really stupid in its random generation and have you fight the main bad guy the first round.
I mean, to be honest, it's Mortal Kombat. The plot is stupid anyway.
Yes.
Like, you're going to, like, you're playing a Mortal Kombat game or you're watching a Mortal Kombat movie to see fight scenes and gore.
And
like that's what you're going for. Like that's what they need to do.
Yeah, I mean the whole time I'm watching this, like I haven't played Mortal Kombat in 30 years.
Right.
So the whole time I'm watching this movie, I'm like, was that what the story of the game was? Because I don't remember. I don't even remember if it had a story. Like, and I'm not sure that I see the through line from the game from 1990 to this movie in 2021. I don't know what the fuck is going on here. I don't know.
So plot-wise, this movie's kind of borrowing from some of the newer Mortal Kombat games because they had, I think it was Mortal Kombat 9 was like
God, I can't believe there's 9 of them.
The entire series.
Oh, there's more than 9. 11. I think they're up to 11
there's
or 12.
11 now.
What?
They're up to 11. Yeah.
Oh my. Okay.
I have 11. If you want to see stupid, the plot to 11 is really stupid. And really cheap.
Is that what they based this movie off of then?
No. This one is inspired by 9 in a sense, but 9 was like what they
inspired being a word we'll use as loosely as the word plot.
Yes. So pretty much Mortal Kombat 9 was an attempt to remake the first Mortal Kombat and begin telling the story again from the beginning.
Interesting.
And 11 is a time travel story. And nothing in 11 has any consequence because it's time travel.
Yep.
My main complaint is I don't understand Warner Brothers' obsession lately with taking big name properties and turning them into completely lame and unfunny comedies. They did this as soon as It became a hit. They made It Chapter 2 into a lame-ass comedy. They took Zack Snyder's Justice League and completely shelved it in order to make Joss Whedon turn this into a lame fucking comedy. And now they've taken Mortal Kombat, arguably a very successful video game franchise at 11 video games in over 30 years, and turned it into a lame, unfunny comedy with the occasional dull action scene.
Yes.
Or that looks like it was made direct for video.
Or they turned it into a cheesy martial arts movie, which is kind of what it was supposed to be to begin with.
It's still terrible.
Or the bigger problem, well, I mean, there's many, but the one that
problems.
Just what made me very frustrated was it felt like from the very beginning of this movie, and I know the story of why, but you watch this movie and you're like, okay, it's going to have a Mortal Kombat tournament in it. Instead, the writers, Warner Brothers, whoever it was, assumed that they were going to be able to make more than one of these. So they just sort of stopped the movie halfway through what they were trying to tell us and just be like, well, if you want to see more, watch this movie so we can make more. But we're not going to give you a satisfying ending. And we're literally going to leave it at a cliffhanger, but with nothing satisfying about what happens, because at this point we can spoil the fact that even when they kill, in quotes, all the bad guys, the main bad guy said, well, you killed them here, snap, and they all disappear, making it sound like that they'll all come back.
Yeah, I think making this movie and signing all of these people on for multiple installments is really wishful thinking.
Yes. Because, like, to go back to it, chapter 1, or volume 1, or whatever they called it, that sort of had an ending. They beat Pennywise and he disappears and they get all their friends back.
Honestly, they could have left part 1 as part 1 and I would have been happy.
Exactly.
Yeah, the nice thing about it, you don't have to see chapter 2, and once you do, you'll wish you hadn't, and then
I haven't
you can just go ahead and keep chapter 1 forever in your heart and say, all right, well, you know what? We don't need a sequel.
In this one, they were like, well, let's just end it before the Pennywise fight, and then that's that. It were like, so once they get to the point of fighting all of the guys, and you look at the time and you're like, well, there's still 40 minutes of this stupid movie. What more can they do? But instead of spreading out the fights, because that's the whole purpose, I assume, of watching this movie.
They kind of condense them into like one part.
Yeah, they give you like an MTV montage of all these awesome fights, and you're just like, well, okay, that's cool.
I think it would work better if they at least like spread out the fights.
Yes.
To be like, okay, here's boring ass plot point. Now here's a fight scene. Because I honestly, like, I'm not gonna lie, it's Mortal Kombat. The movie's dumb. Like, we all know it's gonna be dumb going into it.
Yeah.
So I just turn my brain off, and I want to be entertained by some cool fight scenes. And I was entertained by some cool fight scenes.
Yeah. My main problem is there weren't enough of those fight scenes.
Yeah.
There should be more fight scenes.
They spent so much time on these uninteresting characters, like this guy, Cole, is that his name?
Yeah.
He's an original character for the movie.
Which is very frustrating if you didn't know that.
They had some guy with the acting ability of a doorknob play this guy. There is like zero reason to root for him. Everyone else that surrounds him can't act. All of the story is lame. Everybody talks in these really heavyweight, overly important, super pretentious lines of dialogue that are all immediately scrapped in favor of a punchline.
Yes.
So your dialogue for this movie is like, we must save the Earth, or else Otherworld will enslave the world. Sir, this is a Wendy's. I am going to beat your ass. Would you like fries with that? This is Mortal Kombat. I think you're looking for the Arby's, sir. Hey. There's a lot of ice building up around the window. I don't know what's going on now, but please pull up the window too.
At least our Frosties will be cold.
I mean, this is literally the whole fuck. That dialogue was better than anything that was in this fucking movie.
It would have been better if it was just the Sub-Zero and Scorpion rivalry movie.
Now, the opening scene was fucking awesome. Good. That was great. And then it's all downhill from there. Like
I thought the final battle scene between Scorpion and Sub-Zero was cool. It just made no sense, but I thought it was cool.
It was okay. Again, the production values on this thing only cost $50 million, and whoever gave them $50 million, it got fucking ripped off. Like, I think all that money went to catering because none of it shows up on screen. This has that really cheap indie film lighting where, like, dark scenes are overly brightly lit.
Yeah.
And everything just looks direct to video.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a Hollywood theatrical movie. This is a low budget, straight to video. We were contractually obligated to make this shit. We're just going to put it out on disc and be done with it. Thank God for the pandemic. We have HBO Max. We can dump it there and be done with it. This movie's just a giant mess. You have this super plastic lead guy. You've got another combatant whose entire importance there is that he has a big hat. That guy, he reminds me of Norm Macdonald on Celebrity Jeopardy as Burt Reynolds was like, I got a big hat. I got a big hat.
I don't know,
that's
cool.
His whole importance of the movie.
Yeah, his fatality was pretty slick. But that was
nice. But I mean, just the whole thing, like your superpower is you have a hat. Like that's.
Yeah. Well, and it felt like, because even with that scene, so like he does his fatality where he puts the hat down and it spins really fast and he throws somebody into it. The person is like this vampire person, which they don't really do. They like sort of set up, but not enough. They make it seem like this vampire person is like the best because they're like, oh, we got our siren here and she's in the back and she kind of makes a funny noise. And so then when she comes in and they're fighting in the halfway point of the movie, you're like, oh, this person's going to be awesome. They got wings and they're vampire and they make these screeches. And then this guy, he just takes 2 seconds and kills her. And it's a very sweet, unexpected scene because like, I don't remember that fatality, but then like you actually see her like get cut in half from the top of the head down. And I was like, well, that's cool. But that was the whole problem with like, a lot of these is they're so like it felt like there was a longer movie that they just chopped out all the development.
Oh God, please don't let there be a longer movie.
Because I really didn't know. I did not know about her enough to care. I didn't know about any of the bad guys except they're like all annoying. And then even though the Scorpion and Sub-Zero scene was cool, there was no agency because literally that Scorpion guy's from the beginning of the movie, so we know he's been dead, and he's like, I came up from hell to kill you. And so you're like, well, you're taking the one shot for our main hero, you're taking the chance to see him fight. I mean, like, you kind of see him fight the four-armed dude, but like this is the scene and you're like, cool, he's gonna finally get into his powers and kill this ultimate bad guy, Sub-Zero. Instead they take it away and they give it to this ghost who, while is cool, he has no agency in this story anymore because he is dead, and that's the end of it, is he is gone because he is just a ghost.
Also, one thing I will say is, like, if you're gonna make a bit, commit to it. Why is he yelling "get over here" in English just because the game does it?
Yeah, like when we're introduced to him, it's all subtitles.
All his other dialogues in Japanese, and then he's like, "Get over here."
Yeah.
Like
I guess he found some Rosetta software in hell and brushed up on his English skills.
Because I kept thinking that because, one, not knowing enough about the game, I thought the main character was a character, but I couldn't quite figure it out. And then when they threw in a couple flashes every once in a while where he would see Scorpion, I was like, oh, he's going to be the new Scorpion. And that's how this Scorpion thing gets passed down. But they're like, no, he's just seeing that. But really, he's not our Scorpion. He's just some random dude that's got I don't know, he's got the suit, the Black Panther suit that can absorb power, and that was about it.
Yeah, I love that whole conceit, like they have to earn their special ability. Yeah. So they're like they have to, like, they're leveling up. Yeah. In X-Men worlds, they're like learning their mutant power. And this guy, this is how fucking lame this central character is. His magic ability is to grow a gold muscle shirt.
And what sucked is, like, throughout at the beginning of the movie, you see him and he's doing like MMA for like $200, and he gets beat up, and they're like, oh well, he was holding back, he shouldn't have held back. And so you're like, oh man, he's super powered, super punch guy, but he holds back through the whole damn movie.
Yeah, no, he has no ability. He is just lame.
And like, I don't know, that was frustrating.
I mean, you never want to have a martial arts movie where your lead character, that you realize that this fat, overweight viewer could kick his ass. That's the problem. Like, I get out of breath tying my shoes, but I could beat this guy in Mortal Kombat, no problem.
So yeah, you have.
I love
him.
Angry Mike. I want to say that I love Angry Mike.
You ate enough bone meal.
I cannot get over how cheap this whole movie is. That the first 10 minutes are great. Like, that opening scene is great, and then the rest of the movie just never lives up to that again. It just deliberately hijacks itself, one scene after another after that opening.
The first 10 minutes are like the best part of the movie.
This whole movie is like you take those high-budget porn spoofs and strip out all the fucking, and that's what you're left with this movie. It's bad lighting, it's bad acting, there's no sex, it's all bad. It's just bad. It's a high-budget porn spoof without the sex.
Yes. And, like, you have two bad guys that, I couldn't, so Kano, he teetered on the line of being funny and being annoying, and it probably
he was just annoying.
Well, I was gonna say he leaned a little bit more towards the annoying. Like, at first it was like, oh, he's got a potty mouth and he says what he's thinking, but then after a while,
he's an
Aussie. I'm not doing any of that. All I'm saying is, like, they made him so, and we talked about this in Godzilla too, but, like, they made him so annoying. He could have just said, well, I'm the annoying guy and you're gonna hate me, and that would would have been a line that would have fit in this movie. And then you got the other guy with the mask and the swords, who also, like, I don't know, Mike, you were right. Like, they pulled this Joss Whedon comedy thing where you always got to have a punchline, and it's like, you can stop. You don't need to have this mask guy going, like, a little fast for you, or like, didn't see that coming, did you? And it's just like, stop.
Yeah.
What? I don't know.
Anytime there's a moment of seriousness to be had, there's always a punchline. This is like, it's like Batman and Robin. It's just cinematic diarrhea. That's all it is.
Now, like, yes, this probably would have been sort of fun, sitting in a movie theater with a big bowl of bone meal, watching this dumb, stupid movie, a summer movie. But since we're probably a majority of us watched it at home, you can kind of, like, sit and you can analyze it a little bit more. You're not blinded by the flash, and you're just like, oh, what is happening? And then again, it's just that stupid ending of, like, we're assuming we're going to do two more, and instead of giving it a satisfying conclusion, most movies that we've seen that have Star Wars is a good example. All three parts of those movies had an ending. Even Empire Strikes Back has sort of an ending. They did what they were trying to do. This one doesn't have it. They didn't give us an ending. They literally said, well, now we're ready for the tournament. And you're just like, I thought that's what this movie was supposed to be, the tournament.
And what was honestly, this? Go on.
It would have been a better movie if it was the tournament.
Yes.
Give us the fight scenes, give us a tournament. You can introduce it in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You don't even need Cole. They could literally just do the 1995 movie and just have Johnny Cage be the audience surrogate to understand what's happening in the world, because that's what the original movie was too.
Yeah.
And in this one, Cole is supposed to be our audience surrogate, but they don't explain anything.
Yeah.
Like, I've been completely MIA on Mortal Kombat for 30 years. Going into this scene, I didn't know who any of the characters were. I forgot Otherworld was even a thing. They don't develop any of it. It's just random fantasy trash thrown in between shitty supposed character development.
Yeah. It's like,
and fight scenes. And it's just like, oh, whoa, now we got this flying vampire. It's like, well, who the fuck is she? Why does this matter? Why are they on screen? Like, what does any of this have anything to do with anything?
Honestly, Mike, I will say none of the characters develop in this movie.
No, not even Cole. Cole's character development is he unlocks the ability to grow a shirt. That's it. That's his path from A to B. That's
and they could have put the fight movie. We're seeing Mortal Kombat. We assume there's going to be combat and it's going to be mortal. So do that. and just a bunch of fight scenes in between. Sprinkle in, the fight scenes can be character development. In between can be, setting development.
Exposition scenes. So it's like exposition, fight scene, exposition, fight scene, exposition, fight scene. Your audience is going to be entertained. It's all the movie needs to do.
Right. And then if you're like, cool, enough people want to see this, the sequel could be the aftermath. What happens after they won the tournament or whatever stupid thing. But like, assuming, and that's totally, I think the problem is from the start of the script, they assumed there were going to be more than one movie. So this is like a chapter in that plan. And so like, it felt like they were just pushing stuff on. They're like, well, we'll tell it more in the second one. So we'll give you more of this story and we'll see more of these characters do things, because but it just doesn't happen. I mean, like, every bad guy is like that. We talked about the vampire. They have, I guess it's Melina with the big mouth. They again set her up to be this awesome person, and she dies really quick. And that's the other crazy thing is, like, you break. If we're gonna follow the rules of this movie and everything that's supposed to happen, you have Sonya Blade, who isn't a chosen one, yet for some reason they just bring her along in all the chosen one activities. They're like, it's like if the rules are she has to be a chosen one, why is she even here?
Yeah. And what was this whole thing with the birthmark tattoo thing that looks exactly like the Mortal Kombat video game symbol? Like, you're a chosen one because you have this mark. It's like, oh, it just so happens that it's just this perfectly formed dragon in a circle.
Yes.
And Sonya's whole thing, like, she can't fit in with the rest of the gang because she doesn't have this mark. It was just another lame device that is just shoehorned into this narrative and makes zero sense.
Well, and I am glad they didn't, because they sort of set up at when Jax gets our main character and then takes him, and then he has to go to see Sonya Blade. I was like, okay, they're going to go with that cheap story setup of everybody knows about this tournament except for our one person. And right. So they skipped that. They sort of had it where they're like, oh, well, you don't know about this thing. And I'm like, oh, man, that's a boring trope. And instead they're just like, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah, no, Sonya was basically just a trophy wife for this group. I don't understand what even having her there was for. Like you said, I mean, every time they go, oh, well, you can't do this. You're not a chosen. No, you can't be here. Like, oh, well, yeah, come on in. You're not chosen, but come and have a seat at the table.
And she, like, you assume all these chosen one people are going to be really difficult to fight. Yet somehow this mortal human can totally stand her own against them. I was like, oh, well, if these are the bad guys you're throwing at us, then I guess it's not that bad, because a human can take on somebody with a giant mouth face.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like this tournament is going to have a lot of dramatic weight behind it come the sequel, because you've just seen every lame ass on earth can beat these guys with their hands tied behind their back. Like, I will say, I absolutely loved Jax's cute little robot stick arms. Those were hilarious.
Why would they put that on him?
Those were hilarious.
If they already have the technology to build those arms, why'd they build them so tiny?
It was so funny, though.
He's this great, big, muscular guy, and he's got these little twig arms, the little robot twig arms. It's just fucking hilarious.
Oh, my God.
And he's, like, trying to fight the wooden stick, and he can't break the wooden stick because his arms are so tiny.
It's like, in fact, they made it worse for him because he has the hope of having these arms, but they don't work.
Johnny Five's going to roll over his toes and wipe them out.
He should be in the second movie.
It'd improve it a lot, I think.
I will say, not to keep, I mean, I know we did this to you, Mike. We bashed on Godzilla. And Rich, I know we're bashing on Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I don't understand how the two of you can enjoy this movie and then shit all over Godzilla versus Kong, which is like literally a million times superior.
I'm bashing this movie too.
I'm bashing this movie too. The difference is I had a lot of fun watching this movie because it was so stupid. This movie's like a so bad it's good type of movie.
True. No,
where like
I disagree.
where like I just found this movie to be incredibly entertaining, whereas with Godzilla vs. Kong, which I liked it better than King of Monsters, I still found it to be incredibly boring and self-important.
Yeah, see, I'm on the complete flip side. Like, everything you had against Godzilla, I hold against Mortal Kombat. Like, the first 10 minutes were great, and then after that, I kept checking my phone every few minutes. I'm like, God, is this thing, there's still another hour and a half? What the fuck? Like, this movie, after I watched it, I had to make notes on my phone because I knew I was going to forget everything about it. And outside of these notes that I'm looking at, I don't know what happened in this movie. I am relying 100% on the notes I left. Like, I could not tell you anything beyond what I wrote down.
I'm like 2 weeks removed from watching this movie too, so.
Yeah, but like Godzilla vs. Kong, I'm still thinking about that big fight scene at the end and Hollow Earth. And now they want to do Son of Kong, and I want to know who Kong fucks to have a kid. I'm invested.
They really want to do Son of Kong?
Yeah, I want to find out, like, you know, who did he find in Hollow Earth that he's banging? I need to know.
Oh, my God.
But it's like telling me they want to do Mortal Kombat 2, and I'm just like, fucking why?
I think both of these movies are on the same level. That's where I sit.
Yeah, I'm going to say Godzilla vs. Kong is literally a million times better. And this direct-to-video TV budget trash. Like, this thing doesn't even have a TV budget. Like, I've seen shit on CBS that looks better produced than this fucking thing.
I think they both had their merit.
This thing wishes it could be as well produced as Everybody Loves Raymond.
I think they did a good job with bringing in all the major kills. I thought those were cool. Giant fire eater saw thing. I think what I liked a little bit more on this was the fact that they bring in one of the guys from the raid and they actually let him fight. I thought that was cool.
He's such a really great martial artist. They should have given him more to do, but
yes. So he played something
so good.
And I think he was the lieutenant in the raid. And having now, I see every once in a while the raid guys will pop up in a movie. So like I think two of them popped up in Force Awakens, and that was extremely disappointing because when I heard they were going to be in it, I was like, sweet, there's going to be an awesome fight scene. And then they were in it for 2 seconds. So that was stupid. And then the Mad Dog guy from the raid is in John Wick 3. And he actually does get a fight scene, but you could totally tell he had to like slow down because Keanu Reeves is Keanu Reeves and he's a little bit older. And so he couldn't handle all the fight moves and fast moves that this Mad Dog guy could. So yeah. I was like, okay. But then in this, they got the guy and they actually let him do some stuff. And so that made me happy. I was like, all right.
And the guy who played Scorpion is like Japanese acting like royalty too. Like he's both of those guys are really fantastic like at what they do.
Yes.
Well, I'm sorry they got saddled with this movie.
You got to break into American audiences somehow.
Have you seen The Raid?
They need grocery money, I guess. No, I haven't seen The Raid.
You haven't seen The Raid? Fuck.
We'll watch that, and then you'll be even more disappointed about this movie.
So did you see the Judge Dredd movie with Carl Urban?
Yes.
So The Raid is like that, but better.
Okay.
Yes.
I recall hearing Judge Dredd compared to The Raid, but I have not seen that one yet.
Yeah, it's really a similar scenario where like the people are trapped in an apartment building skyscraper that's owned by drug dealing gang members, and they have to fight their way out.
Awesome.
And it is nonstop martial arts badass. Like it's fucking awesome.
So yes, that. But still, it was nice to see him in Mortal Kombat. At least doing stuff.
He got like a leading credit role for it too. Like I want to see him in more movies.
Yeah, so that was good. But yeah, the rest of it was just like it needed something. But what it needed was at the very end, they're like, well, we got to get our own team. And you see them having to go get Johnny Cage. And I was like, screw Johnny Cage. Either get the dudes from Fast and Furious or get John Wick and we'll be good to go.
Speaking of Fast and Furious, did you guys see the trailer for the newest one?
Hell yeah.
That's another series. I've never seen a single one of those movies.
Well, you can skip all of them up to number 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really feel any desire to see any of them.
You totally got to see it. It's amazing.
I'll tell you, another thing that, out of many, that completely pulled me out of this movie, since it did just occur to me, is watching this in the middle of a pandemic. And at the end, Scorpion is standing right next to this guy, and he keeps taking his mask off to talk.
I'm like, what's the point of the mask?
Exactly. Like, he keeps taking it off. He says his little piece, remember this face, and he puts it back on. And, you know, back in Japan, I was a farmer, and he puts the mask back on. And it's like, and Sub-Zero killed my wife, and he puts the mask back on. And then he takes it back off. And we left a baby in the closet, and he puts the mask back on. And then I died, and he puts the mask back on. So why the fuck do you keep taking this thing on and off? Just...
I felt that way too. I also felt like
one way or the other. If you're not going to wear it, just don't fucking wear it.
I also wondered why he waited so long. Why did it have to be hundreds of years to come back?
Well, the gold T-shirt guy had to find his knife.
The blood had to go on the knife.
Oh,
His descendants to bring him into our world.
Wait,
yeah, apparently after like
descendants.
What was the knife? Where did the knife come from?
It was a knife that his dead wife left in the soil that he turned into that chain blade in the beginning.
Oh, was that a knife?
I guess. I don't know.
It was a kunai. It was a kunai.
Well,
but apparently,
why did she put it in the dirt?
I don't know, but like 1,000 years, over 1,000 years, nobody has fucking nicked themselves on this single blade. Like, even accidentally, like, God knows how many people handled this knife. Like, not one cut themselves on it that was related to him.
Just, wait. There, okay, yes. I don't remember that, but I do just remember something occurred to me where they so want it to be Kill Bill. Because there is a fight scene in a trailer that even goes into a bathroom between Kano and Sonya Blade, and I was like, oh man, they just want to do Kill Bill. And then
he gets killed by a garden gnome.
Yes, so not a snake, but a garden gnome, because he did not like garden gnomes.
So another thing that occurred to me, and maybe you guys can clear this up for me. So Raiden, he has like a cave. His base is he has like a Raiden cave.
Yep.
Yeah.
What in the middle of his decor was with the giant glass dildo that he's got hanging around over there?
What? I don't remember a glass dildo.
I remember a glass dildo.
Like, there was this big circular thing, and then there was a big glass tube that looks like a giant dildo just sticking up in the middle of the cave. I don't understand what that's
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that either.
So I can't tell you.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 star.
It was just really weird set design. I didn't understand the importance of any of this. Like, he has no technology in there except this brightly lit giant glass tube.
And robot arms.
Well, tiny robot arms.
Tiny robot arms.
1 star. What was the point of the glass dildo?
Yeah, exactly. That took me out of the movie, too, because I was like, what's with the dildo? Why?
I did not realize that the knife.
A part of it clicked with me, like, this is just a porno spoof without the sex scenes, and then they show his cave, and it's like, big glass dildo. This strengthens my theory a lot. Like, I am on to something, I think, with this theory.
I don't.
My hypothesis holds water.
I don't remember that at all.
It's all I could think about.
You dirty
I didn't
boy.
understand. I don't know what's going on with Raiden and this.
I mean,
trophy dildo.
I guess you need something to do for thousands of years.
I guess so.
just sitting in the middle of the desert, playing with his lightning and glass dildo.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now there was a montage.
Need a montage.
Gonna need a montage.
Well, I think we've decided that Mortal Kombat is a
shit fest
movie, unless
it's
you're
a
me.
shit fest.
I've seen a lot worse than this, to use the term shit fest.
I have only seen a couple things that were worse than this. I would put, as far as like cinematic diarrhea, this is up there with, for me, Batman and Robin, Forrest Gump, and A Christmas Story. Like, these are all movies
Is there a sequel to Forrest Gump called Forrest Gump: A Christmas Story?
No, the movie Christmas Story, the kid with the BB gun.
There was a comment between.
I hate that movie.
Okay, I wasn't sure if they made like
that movie too.
A sequel where Forrest Gump discovers Christmas.
Story is like one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah, it's trash. And I've had food poisoning that was better than this movie.
I will, similar to the Godzilla movies, I'll probably watch the next Mortal Kombat, and I'll probably be bummed about it too. It's the same. I don't know why I keep watching the Godzilla movies, because I'm bummed every time I see them. That'll be the same for this.
Well, I also will be watching the next Godzilla movie, and I am looking forward to it.
Yes.
Watch Shin Godzilla.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's what I meant like our Godzilla movies, not outside of the States.
I was like, because Shin Godzilla is fucking amazing.
Yeah. No,
that movie's so good.
Yeah. I mean, more like these weird ones that we have now that are not what they should be.
I mean, honestly, I'll watch Son of Kong. I'm looking forward to it. Like, Kong Skull Island is a movie I immensely enjoyed.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I really, really like Kong Skull Island, but the Godzilla movies just don't do it. At least the American Godzilla movies, they don't do it for me. I don't know what it is.
They're both very similar because they fight things that you don't really know much about, or they assume you know much about because you've watched the older ones. If you had never seen any of the Godzilla movies, you would not be like, oh, King Ghidorah or oh, Mechagodzilla. You'd be like, who are these random things? And it's the same for Mortal Kombat, because I don't know enough about these bad guys that I'm like, oh, mouth lady, oh, dude with a mask. I'm like, I don't know who these people are enough to care. And that was the same for Godzilla, where I'm like, I don't really know these people enough, or these monsters enough to be like, sweet, finally. It could just be the generic bad guys that were like in all of the Avenger movies, where they all, I mean, like the main villains, yes, but like in the first Avengers, they fight all those weird alien things that are nothing but just things that they have to fight. And that's what I felt like for the Godzilla. Yeah, those guys. They're just nameless things to beat up, and that's the same. Like most of the Godzilla movies, it's like and even Kong to an extent, they got to fight generic monster things that you're like, okay, I don't know who this is. I mean, I know who the main bad guys are just because I've seen the older ones, but like Godzilla, especially the first one, he fights random big guy that looked like he's from Cloverfield, and it's like,
Well, the only Godzilla movie that I haven't enjoyed of these new ones so far was the 2014 one.
Yeah.
But the rest of them I've liked. This Mortal Kombat just felt like it was too much fan service without any explanation.
Oh, it was a ton of fan service. And I could say
they expect you to know going in what all of these are self-referential things are.
Yes.
That's probably why it worked for me, though, because I'm caught up with the games. So, I mean, that also puts me in a different kind of perspective on the movie, too.
Yeah, I think probably for people that have invested in the video game series will probably think more to enjoy. For me watching it, it's like, oh, okay, here's this chick with a big mouth, and then she dies 2 seconds later. And it was like, what the fuck was the point of that? Why even bother with that? Like, you're bringing in all of these disposable nobodies. Why? Why are you?
Right. Or like even they like
introducing these things and then doing absolutely nothing with them.
Exactly.
And then you got the guy clowning around in the back. Oh, perfect fatality. It's like, all right, great. I get it. It's a line from the game. All right,
that was honestly those were too much for me.
Yeah.
When they killed the guy in the hat and the guy's like flawless victory. I'm like, no, like that was too much.
Like when he's like literally winking at the camera and straightening the brow of his hat and like perfect victim. Like, all right, I know it's a line from the game. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Let's jerk off on the camera some more. Why don't you?
Yeah, like we needed to see the bad guys actually be bad, so like killing people. We needed to like I remember enough from Mortal Kombat that we know like Goro is like the big one you have to fight at the end, no matter who else you fight. And it's like they set him up. They're like, oh, Prince Goro is coming, and then he gets killed by our gold shirt guy pretty easily. It's like I want to see him be bad so I can like understand why it's good that he gets a hole put through his chest.
Right.
And that's the same with all of them. They like tell us they're bad without showing us that they're bad. And I guess again it's because they wasted so much time on like the generic heroes gotta becoming heroes bit that we don't
care
much. Yeah, we don't get much more than that. Like I don't need to see any of them, like especially because you got two of them that have their power, and then you got the two that like need to gain their power, and you see them fight, and then all of a sudden it's just like, well, if I insult this guy enough, he'll get a laser ball eye.
Yeah. Now, my wife and I, we both watched this. We both hated it, and we both agreed that we wanted to go back and revisit the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. So the night after watching this suckfest, we put on the other one. Aside from the 2021's opening scene, like right from the get-go, the original Mortal Kombat movie is just infinitely better in all regards than...
It's tons of fun. Like,
yeah, the 95 movie was a blast. I mean, you want to talk about show, don't tell that the bad guy's a bad guy? Like, the opening scene is the bad guy crippling a child.
I honestly don't remember that one either.
Like, I was surprised, like, holy shit, this really kicks it off on a vicious note. Like, you've got this, what's his name, Shang Tsung?
Yeah.
Fighting Kung Lao's brother, who's like 12, and he just like beats the shit out of him and then breaks his back and then's like, you're next. I was like, all right, cool. And then you get Sonya Blade, who isn't concerned about not being a part of this tournament because she doesn't have a special tattoo, birthmark, whatever the fuck. Yeah. She's just like kicking ass and taking names right from the beginning. She's like leading a Navy SEAL team to hunt down Kano, and then she doesn't give a shit. She's getting on this ship going wherever he is. Like, you don't want me in this tournament? I'm going to kick all your asses. Like, it's great. It's got this really cool, like, 1980s action movie aesthetic, which makes sense because being filmed in the early 90s, it's like coming right on that trailing edge of shit like Commando. You know, you've got like all the Schwarzenegger summer blockbuster that this is trying to mold itself after. And this movie just doesn't have any of that kind of inspiration or aspirations to be like, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I do think the original, like, 95 film is a lot more fun.
Yeah, it was a hell of a lot more enjoyable. This one bored me to tears, but the 95 one, I was like, all right, this is actually pretty cool. The effects suck because, of course, 1995, but it's still
Paul
fun.
W.S. Anderson.
Yeah.
He did that, then Event Horizon, then went on to suck for the rest of his entire career.
Yep, that's a fair assessment.
Isn't he the one that threatens reviewers to fight?
No, that was Uwe Boll.
Oh, okay.
German director.
I don't know. They all do video game things, so whatever.
Yeah, Uwe Boll is basically the poor man's Paul Thomas. What's this guy's name?
Definitely not Paul. It's definitely not Paul
Anderson.
Thomas.
Is that what his name is?
No.
Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson, not
Paul
Paul
W.S. Anderson. I don't know. Whatever. He's still... Like, he made 2 good movies, and then that was it. And, like, Uwe Boll hasn't even made 2 good movies, so...
Oh, man.
Well, I think you'll be happy to know, Mike, that our book for next week is a lot better than this.
It doesn't have very much to compete against.
And it's not Navajo Nightmare.
Now, is it one of these books that's not a movie?
Yes, it's one of these books that's not a movie.
Okay.
It's called The Dark Side of the Room by Tyler Jones.
1 star.
It's only 86 pages. You can borrow it with Kindle Unlimited, or it's also the Kindle version's pretty cheap as well. And the paperback, I think, is like $6.
Right.
So
Doesn't have enough of a look inside.
I don't know. We'll find out. But
I mean, that's how I'm going to judge this book, is its look inside.
But
Page
I'm
count.
looking forward to our discussion with it. I'm near the end of this book, and I'm loving it so far.
Great.
And now I remember to read it. I will read it.
Yes.
Yes. So,
And next
Mike,
week, hopefully you'll have your microphone.
so Mike, where can listeners get in touch with you?
They can
On
find me
Amazon.
they can one-star my books on Amazon and then follow me on Twitter at MikeH5856.
And Matt, what about you?
You can give me all the star reviews on Twitter at bonemeal.com.
And you can follow me on Twitter at Rudy53088. If you want to send me some bone meal, just look up my email address. And be sure to send that bone meal to Staring Into the Abyss at Into Staring.
Love
so
our
we
bone
can make
meal
this
with the
abyss spread the entire world and encompass everything. And this is Richard Gerlach saying, keep staring.
Welcome to Wild Speculation, a podcast where each episode is a short story that explores one of the many strange, wonderful, and sometimes disturbing worlds of speculative fiction. You can find us at wildspeculation.buzzsprout.com, on the Project Entertainment Network, and wherever else you find podcasts. So sit back, enjoy the story, and let your imagination run wild.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.